Coming up on this episode of Crime Family, the disappearance of Zack Lefave. And like I said, it's a pretty small town. So when someone goes missing or something really significant happens in that town, it doesn't take long for people to notice or to start rumors.
But his belongings could have been thrown there later by if someone did hit him, and trying to cover it up. They took his body, they threw his belongings somewhere random.
Also, do they know where his cell phone, the last time it pinged off a tower? Do they know that location?
And some people are rumored to say that his disappearance could be linked to another case that happened back in September of 2020 in the same area. And this was the case of a boy named Colton who was murdered.
Yeah, to me, it wouldn't be too far off. I think that someone did pick him up. Something happened. They hurt him.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Crime Family. I'm your co-host AJ, and I'm here with my sisters Stephanie and Katie, just like always. And this week, Steph is going to be telling us about a case that she has been researching and wants to share with us on the show. So, Steph, take it away.
So today I'm going to be doing a case that's close to home. A case that happened in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, and it's about a 4-hour drive from Halifax to Yarmouth. So this case happened about 2 years ago on December 31st, 2020/2021. Happened on New Year's Eve. And it's just a case that I've been looking into and looking for updates because it's just such a weird case, and it is unsolved still today after 2 years. So I'm going to assume that you guys probably never heard of it because it's not really in the media as much. Because it is from a small town here in Nova Scotia, so it hasn't really got a whole lot of media attention, so I'm just going to assume you've never heard of it. It's the disappearance of Zack Lefave.
No, never heard
No,
of it.
I don't think I have. No.
So yeah, I'm just gonna get right into it. I'm just gonna dive right in. Zack was your typical 20-year-old boy. He had a job at a local food store called the Dayton Red and White, which was located in Yarmouth, where Zack lived. According to his friends and family, Zack had a great relationship with everyone he worked with, and he got along with everyone he worked with as well. And he was just a really good person, down-to-earth person. Zack also enjoyed playing video games and biking, and he loved being outdoors. But he was also a very shy person, and he liked to keep to himself as well. He did like going out with his friends to hang out and socialize, but he would never really stay long at parties when he would go out. He would just go for a few hours and then come back home. Where Zack lived, so he lived in the Yarmouth, he lived in the Yarmouth area, but he lived in a small town called Hebron, which is just outside of Yarmouth, but like 5 minutes outside of Yarmouth, and it only has a very small amount of people. And it's part of the Yarmouth County. And like I said, it's a pretty small town. So when someone goes missing or something really significant happens in that town, it doesn't take long for people to notice or to start rumors. And as we all know, because we lived in a small town, how rumors can spread and how quickly news spread. So I'm kind of shocked that this case hasn't got a lot more attention, but it's probably because it is from a small town and Yarmouth is very desolate. There's not a whole lot going on in Yarmouth usually, so there's not a whole lot of media around this case. So one of Zack's closest relatives, named Kimberly Morton, who was Zack's cousin and who's also the spokesperson for his disappearance, she remembers that the night that Zack disappeared on December 31st, 2020, because it was so out of character for him not to show up back home, and it was just such a shock to his family as well. So on that day, New Year's Eve day, Zack spent the day four-wheeling with his friends till about 4 p.m. that afternoon, and then about around 6 p.m. that evening, he decided to go to the Grand Hotel, where a few of his friends had a room there, and they started drinking and just having a good time. And after about a few hours, they all decided to take a 15-minute cab ride to a party in Plymouth, which is just 15 minutes outside of Yarmouth. And they arrived there at around 11:29, and there was only about 20 or so people at this party. And according to some party goers, Zack didn't really know anyone at this party, but he was invited by one of the girls he was with, who knew a mutual friend that was at this party. So he just went along because the friends that he was with in the cab, they were going to the party too, but other people he didn't know. So this was kind of out of character for Zack, because he normally didn't really go, like, he went to hang out with his friends and stuff, but he never would go to parties where he didn't really know anybody. But because he was with this girl and the friends from the hotel, he's decided that he'd be okay to go to this party. A few of the witnesses who were at this party say that Zack was drunk, but an outgoing drunk, not like a passed out, belligerent, annoying drunk. And they said he seemed like he was having a good time. Other witnesses say that there was only alcohol and marijuana that was being consumed that night. No other drugs were being used that night, which I don't really know why that's even, I'm guessing it's significant in the case, but I'm not really sure why they have to mention that. But some of the people say that Zack left the party at around 11:49, which was only 20 minutes after he arrived. So, if you remember, he arrived at the party at 11:29, and he leaves the party at 11:49. And this is also strange because he left before 12 a.m. on New Year's Eve, so he didn't even stay to ring in the new year with his friends. But, like we know Zack, he probably felt uncomfortable because he didn't really know anybody there, and he was drunk, so he probably just wanted to, head back home. So, he left the party at 11:49, but he left on foot. So he didn't call a cab, he didn't ask for a ride, he started walking. And he said he was going to walk home, which was in Yarmouth, which was about a 2-hour walk from where he was. And there's lots of highways, and it's cold, and it's pitch black, so not really sure why he didn't ask for a ride or call a taxi, or why no one really questioned why he was leaving or asked to walk with him. He just got up and left. There's no really explanation as to why he left or why he left on foot and didn't call for a cab. Those details were never.
But do we know that he actually did that though? I mean, obviously this information must have come from someone who told the police, oh, he said he was going to leave. Do we know that this is actually what happened?
Yeah, one of the witnesses at the party say that Zack had left and he said he was going to walk home. And no one, he never was seen on, he was never seen on his phone, leaving the house on his phone calling a cab. No one saw him call a cab.
Well, did they see him walking down the street, going home?
They saw him leave the house. They didn't actually see him walking. I'll get into more details later, but people at the house did not see him walking along the street. They just saw him leave the house, say he was going to walk home. So like I said, he was pretty drunk when he left the party. So to me, he probably wasn't really thinking straight when he left the house. He just said, oh, I'm just going to walk. Because when he showed up to the party, he was drunk too. So maybe he didn't really realize how far away from home he was. But I still think if someone I knew was drunk and they said they were going to walk home and I knew where I was, I feel like I would offer to like call them a cab or just to make sure they got safe instead of him leaving the house and just not caring or knowing where he's going to be. So, according to Zack's Facebook account, and I didn't know this until I did some research, that you can actually call people from Facebook Messenger, like actually be on the phone and call people. I didn't know that was a thing. Did you?
Well, it would be through Facebook Messenger, wouldn't it?
Yeah, like you can call people like a phone call through Facebook Messenger, which I didn't know.
Yeah, I think I did know that. Like, wouldn't that just be the same thing, like without the video?
I guess, but I didn't know.
Does it go through Facebook? Like, does it like have to use Wi-Fi or data, or like, or do you mean like it actually uses the phone?
He uses the phone. It says according to Zack's Facebook account, he makes his first phone call at 11:49 through Facebook.
No, I think that is just Facebook. Like, instead of a video call, it's just an audio call, which I think you still would go through Facebook. Like, you still need internet for that.
Well, you probably need data. You probably would need Wi-Fi, I would feel.
Yeah, data or Wi-Fi. Yeah. But I guess it would be like the same thing as like a Facebook, like just a video call, just without the video, right?
Yeah,
this is like a separate feature I'm unaware of, but I
guess I know. I didn't know you can make phone calls through Facebook Messenger, but anyways, so according to Zack's Facebook account, he made his first phone call at 11:49 through Facebook Messenger, and he said that he was in Quinon, which is about a 5-hour walk from where he actually was. Because I didn't know where this place was until I looked it up, and it's outside of Yarmouth County, going the opposite direction. So it's about if you were to walk it, it's about a 5-hour walk. So where he was in Plymouth is a 2-hour walk from there to Yarmouth. But when he's talking on the phone to this person, he's saying he's in this other place, and that's at least a 5-hour walk from where he was. But like he left the house at 11:49, so he obviously was disoriented when he left the house, not knowing exactly where he was. Like, he didn't know he was in Plymouth, according to this phone call. He thought he was in Quinon. So,
well, unless he was lying.
Unless,
For
yeah.
some reason, I don't know why he would lie
true.
to the person on the phone, but.
So, yeah. So, like I said, it seems like he's just disoriented and doesn't really know where he is. And during that call, he's joking and like making jokes, and he also refers to, like, he says that he's not wearing any pants, that he like took off his pants for some reason, but he didn't seem like too bothered by that, or he didn't seem distressed, or he didn't really seem like that he was worried that he was lost. He just was joking around and laughing on the phone. But the temperature that night was 3 degrees Celsius, which is not that cold, but it's also not that warm either. So, like, for him not to have pants on, you think he'd be a little bit cold.
For Canadians, that's like, for New Year's Eve, 3 degrees is good if you're from Canada, but if you're from somewhere warm, 3 degrees Celsius seems very cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that if he was suffering from hypothermia, people die from hypothermia and they're always found without their clothes because you get this warm sensation. But I'm not sure how, like, coherent, or if he'd be making jokes at that point if he was suffering from hypothermia enough to have his pants off. So, yeah, it seems strange.
And there's some theories out there, like, when I was doing this case, that, like, they thought maybe he, like, spilled something on his pants while he was at the party and it was bothering him, so he took his pants off. Or, like, he peed himself because he thought he was, like, thought he had his pants down when he was going to pee. Like, just things like that. Like, why? Just kind of trying to figure out why he would have taken his pants off. Or he was hot because, when you drink a lot, you, like Katie said, you become, like, alcohol makes you, like, feel like you're warmer than you are. So maybe he was hot and he wanted to take his pants off. Anyway, there could be a number of things, but anyways, he was joking around on the phone, saying he wasn't wearing any pants, but like I said, he didn't seem bothered by it. And then at 11:54, the phone call ended, and then he makes another one at the same time at 11:54, and he says he's cold, and he still thinks he's in Quinon, but still doesn't seem like this person on the other line. They never really says who's on the other line, but The person again says that he didn't seem distressed. He didn't seem like he was worried. He wasn't like slurring his words or anything. So they like thought he was okay, but he still thought he was in Quinnen. And then that phone call ends at 11:58. And then at 12 midnight, a first eyewitness says that they saw him walking towards Newell Road entrance, which is Highway 334 highway, which he's not walking towards Yarmouth. He's walking the opposite way towards Wedge Point, which is in the opposite direction of Yarmouth. Zack makes another phone call, and this time he says he's walking with two people of color and that he didn't know them. And then the phone cuts off and it goes dead. So at this point, they don't know who these people are. Witnesses say that the people at the party were all white people, and that there was nobody at the party that seemed fishy or seemed like sketchy or anything. So they don't really know who he was walking with or who these people were, because everybody else said that he was like, the witnesses that they saw him in the car said he was walking alone. So I don't know if he thought he was walking with somebody, or maybe there's people walking behind him and they thought that he was walking with them. There's still so much unclear information, but according to that 12:02 phone call, that's what Zack was saying. He was walking with these two people, but other witnesses say who drove by. The first witness who drove by said he was walking alone. So there's conflicting.
Wait, so did he take like drugs or something? Or I'm assuming he was probably drinking at the party.
He was drinking at the party, and there was also marijuana at the party, and sometimes marijuana can also make you paranoid. So maybe the two mixed together. Maybe he was having like some type of episode, or like a.
I feel like you would have to be on something stronger than that to like hallucinate.
Maybe
like
like
acid or something. I don't think marijuana would like make you.
People were like adamant when I was doing the whole thing. Like they were when I was researching, like it kept coming up that was only alcohol and marijuana at the party. Like, I mean, they're probably not going to say like, oh, there was other illicit drugs at this party, but like for all we know.
Yeah, they're not going to say like, oh, we like dropped some acid.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
So all they know is that there was only alcohol and marijuana at the party.
Because like it kind of sounds like it was like, I mean, if he's hallucinating and all of this stuff isn't actually happening or whatever, like he's taking off his pants, like it sounds like he's like having some sort of like he's under the influence of something, and I don't think weed is like strong enough to make you do that.
I mean, it could have been laced with something too, right? Like there's always that.
Yeah, true. That
case as well, but there was no like the police never did find anything like when they were doing when they were doing their searches. Like they never really, because they searched the house too of where he was at the party, and they never found anything but like marijuana and alcohol. But you never know. I mean, he could have left with drugs on him. Who knows? Maybe that's why he left early. But these are like, I don't know. Like, there's no information out there of like why he left the party that early before midnight. Because why go to New Year's Eve party and leave before New Year's, like before even in the New Year? But anyway. So at around 12:07, he makes his last phone call, but nobody picks up the phone when whoever he's calling, nobody picks up the phone. At about 12:15, a driver says he saw him walking towards or with the traffic towards Yarmouth. So he seemed at some point like he was walking. He realized, oh, I'm going the wrong way, and turned around and started walking back. And the witnesses at this time did say that they know that he didn't have any pants on. I don't know why they wouldn't stop and like ask if he needs a ride home if they saw somebody with no pants on in the middle of the night. Like, why would you?
Yeah, that seems kind of weird. And like 3-degree weather, like the least you could do. I mean, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I said maybe someone did, but no one ever came forward and said that they did that, because it seems weird that nobody would stop and say anything. But I mean, how many people are on this road at after 12 o'clock?
It's a very desolate road. Like yeah, I've never driven it, but like I know where the area is, and it's like very dark at night. So, but still, if I saw somebody like walking like that, like maybe I would stop and like ask if they needed a ride or if they needed help. But then again, like I don't like, maybe he looked too drunk and they didn't want to like have him in his car, or like he was a stranger and they didn't know. Like, people don't just pick up strangers randomly. But anyways, so nobody thought it was odd that he was walking by himself with no pants on in the middle of the night, and nobody thought to pick him up. But like I said, he was walking towards Yarmouth this time when the witness saw him.
I mean, unless someone did pick him up and that person did something.
Maybe. Because at around 12:45, the first driver who saw him walking in the wrong direction said that he went back and did a loop, and Zack was they couldn't find where they didn't see him anymore walking. So from the time that the first witness saw him at 12:25 to the second time the first witness saw him at 12:45, which was a 20-minute period, Zack was gone and nobody saw him walking anymore on that road. So that's a little bit sketchy. Like, maybe, I know that's a kind of a windy road. Cause I can kind of picture it in my head. I don't know if you guys probably don't know. I don't know Yarmouth that well, but I kind of know the highway. So it's kind of like a windy road, and it was pitch black outside and it was winter. So maybe he fell over the edge into the ditch, but I'll get into more.
Somebody would still see him in the ditch. If
that that's true. I'll get into more of the research, more of the searches of what the police did in a little bit. So Zack was reported missing 2 hours after he left the party, and his parents thought right away it could have been a hit and run where he was walking on the highway at night, pitch black. Somebody could have hit him and then just ran away, like a hit and run normally would happen. So they started searching that area for him at around 4 a.m., but they found nothing. On January 2nd, the day after Zack went missing, the RCMP did an extensive search on the ground and in the water around the area that people say they saw him, but there was no sign of Zack. But during the searches, the RCMP did find some of Zack's belongings. They found his hat, his pants, his wallet, and cigarettes on Flint Road, which is just a road just outside of Yarmouth, of where the road that he was walking on. So they found all of these items just on the road the same day that they did this, that they were searching the water and the grounds. After days of searching for Zack with no possible leads, the search was suspended, but the family never stopped looking for him. So yeah, they never did find any evidence of they found evidence of that he was walking in that road, but they never found his actual body. So I'm not sure, I don't know what waters they would have searched, because I'm not really, like I said, I'm not hugely familiar with that area. So if he fell into the water, he could have been washed away, which is probably one of the theories that came up in this case.
Yeah, but what water was it? The ocean, I guess. What's it been? Or it was just a river?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what. Like I said, I'm not familiar.
I guess Yarmouth is on the coast, right?
It is on the coast, yeah. So there could have been.
But he wasn't in Yarmouth, right? He was a little bit away.
He was outside of Yarmouth, yeah. Well, where the party was 15 minutes away from Yarmouth, in Plymouth, which has a lot of water around it, I think. I don't know. I've never been to Plymouth, so I don't know.
I've never even heard of it. No, which is weird. You think we all lived in such a small place in Nova Scotia that you'd think you would know places, but when so it's weird when you hear of a place in Nova Scotia you've never heard of.
Well, I never heard of Quinnen, which is just outside of Yarmouth. So I had to look it up to see where it was, and it only has 320 people in it, but it's a 5-hour walk from Yarmouth. So highly unlikely that he was never there in that little town, because he was in Plymouth because his friends who he took the taxi with, that's where they went, was Plymouth, where the house party was. So he must have just thought he was somewhere. But you think because he was from that area, he would know where he was. But I guess if you're drunk and disoriented and high on marijuana, you can be disoriented, I guess.
So where exactly is Plymouth? Because the one I'm looking at here is right outside Stellarton in Pictou County.
Yeah, so I should have mentioned this before. There are 2 Plymouths. One is in Yarmouth County and one is in Pictou County. But I didn't know there was one in Pictou County, where I'm from. I only knew the one in Yarmouth County, so, which is really funny. But yes, there's 2. So if you're looking up this information on this case, it's the Plymouth in Yarmouth County, not the one in Pictou County. For viewers, just to clarify that. So yeah, so after days of searching the area where his belongings were found, they did not find any signs of Zack, and there was no possible leads. So at that time, the search was suspended, but the family never stopped looking for him. They continued to search for him then and until to this day. There are a lot of theories out there that came up in this case about what could possibly happen to him. You know, it's a small town. He was at a party. People talk, and like we're from small towns, and we know how rumors get started. So, actually, a lot of the theories that came up was a possible hit and run, but that was quickly ruled out because there was no blood at the scene where his belongings were. There was no evidence of a hit and run or like skid marks.
Well, his belongings could have been thrown there later by if someone did hit him, and trying to cover it up. They took his body, they threw his belongings somewhere random. Were his belongings where he was last known to be at, or just somewhere random?
They were on the Flint Road, which is Flint Road is just a little bit a few kilometers up from where the witness saw him walking. So it wasn't too far from where the first witness saw him walking. That's where they found his belongings. So maybe he was hit further up and his belongings were there. But I'm just curious as to why his wallet probably was in his pants. Now that I'm thinking of it. But to me, if you're a smoker, you're not going to leave your cigarettes behind. If you're just you know what I mean? If you're drunk, you drop things, that's a thing. But I feel if you're a smoker and a lot of people smoke when they drink, they're not going to leave their cigarettes behind, but maybe they were in his pocket of his pants. But yeah, his hat was there, his wallet, his pants, and his cigarettes were all found in that one area.
Could they tell if anything was taken out of his wallet, like money stolen or anything?
They never did mention that in any of the research that I did. I don't know if anything was taken. That never did come up in any of my searches. So
I don't really understand though why people would just be let him leave the party, saying he's gonna walk on foot, knowing it's a couple hours from where he's why would somebody be oh, okay, just walk 2 hours? People were just saying. I guess if it's a big party, people aren't really paying attention.
Well, they didn't really know him either, right? So maybe they just didn't really care. Guess, yeah. Did they know where he lived? And did he say where he was going, or he just say he's going to walk home? Maybe they didn't even know where he was going.
According to the people that were at the party, they just said he left and he said he was going to walk home. But what I don't understand is that the people he went to the hotel with before the party were at this party too, and why they didn't say, oh no, we should get a walk together or get a cab together, or the girl that he was with, why she didn't say anything or do anything when he left the party. But I guess they were all drinking and there was more people there, and maybe they maybe he just said, I'm gonna leave now, and nobody really paid attention. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you leave a party and there's a lot of noise and you say, oh, I'm gonna go home now, and nobody really pays attention. I don't know.
Well, where was the hotel? Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. But where was the hotel? Maybe they thought he was just going to go back to the hotel, which wasn't as far away as where he lived.
The hotel is the Grand Hotel, which is, I believe, is in Yarmouth. Yeah, it's in Yarmouth. Yeah. So it was a 15-minute, from the hotel to Plymouth is a 15-minute cab ride. So not too far of a drive, but to walk it 2 hours.
Yeah, okay.
So that would be kind of, I'm just trying to think from 15 minutes, that would be driving from Pictou to New Glasgow 15 minutes. So walking.
And then walking home from the cabaret in New Glasgow to Pictou.
Yeah, which would probably take 2 hours or longer, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's it's a huge party. How, because if you're at a party and there's a lot of people there or whatever, and it's oh, you just kind of realize oh, this person's gone, I haven't seen them in hours, and you realize, oh, they must have left and I didn't see them go. Because
they actually never did find his phone at when they're doing the search. So his phone is missing. So you think like his wallet and his cigarettes were in his pocket of his pants. You think his phone would be there too, but his phone is not there, and they have yet to retrieve his phone. They haven't located that, so that's kind of a sketchy thing there too. Because I don't know, like, what do you guys think? Like, if you took off, if anybody took off their pants, they're gonna take their cell phone and their keys and their wallets with them and leave their pants there. So to me, it kind of just seems odd.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know why you would take your pants off anyway. I mean, I guess unless those other things you were talking about, like hypothermia or whatever. But like, to me, that's just odd in itself.
Yeah, or if you're drunk enough or on drugs, you're not really thinking about your wallet or something like that. Like, you take your pants off and just leave them there. He had his phone in his hand, maybe, so that's why he kept that with him. So he just wasn't thinking about those things at the time. Yeah, because I feel like if you're drunk enough to take your pants off and leave them there, you don't really care about anything else. Also, like, do they know where his cell phone, the last time it pinged off a tower? Like, do they know that location?
The last time his cell phone was pinged, it pinged like at the location at the house when he made his first phone call at 11:49 in Plymouth. That's the last where it pinged last. So, yeah, it's Zach's phone was pinged in the Plymouth area where the party was, but they're still unable to like retrieve his phone. They still don't have his phone. So his last location according to his phone was in Plymouth.
So probably there's probably not that many cell phone towers in that area. So like it was still in pinging off the same tower last, even though that could have been the same tower when he left the house, because he probably didn't make it very far.
Yeah, because like he said, like going back to earlier where I said he thought he was in Quinnen, which is like 5 hour walk from Yarmouth, but he actually wasn't actually there. He was only like a few minutes. Like, he was in the same Plymouth area, but he was like walking in the opposite direction you would walk to go to Yarmouth, but he was still in the like close enough to Plymouth that it probably would have pinged off of the same cell tower. Because it's a small, like, there's small towns all around that area, so it wouldn't, there's not, like AJ said, there's not a whole lot of cell towers, so. So according to his girlfriend Hannah, who wasn't at the party, she was able to get a hold of his phone records, and while she was going through those records, she noticed that there was an unknown number that was texting him the night he disappeared, but they're unable to identify who this caller was. Like, according to some friends and some of the rumors that were going around, there were a few names that kept coming up in the tip line when the police were asking for tips, and a lot of them were saying like they were saying the slightly different story but the same names, but they have yet to release those names of those people that kept coming up in the tips. So that's a little bit like, you know how police always keep certain things behind closed doors, so there are a few names that keep coming up, but the police aren't saying who those names are. And some people are rumored to say that his disappearance could be linked to another case that happened back in September of 2020 in the same area. And this was the case of a boy named Colton who was murdered in the same area, like in September. But the police quickly ruled those out because those suspects were apprehended, and that was due to like a drug debt that Colton had. So it was not related to Zach at all. But those are just some of the rumors that were going around because it happened in the same place, roughly around the same time, like a few months apart. But police quickly ruled that those two cases are not linked together. And like I said earlier, Zach's phone was pinged in Plymouth area where the party was, but they still have yet to locate his phone. It's been 2 years since Zach disappeared, and even though they still have like lots of tips coming in, none of them have led anywhere, and the police want anyone with any information about Zach's disappearance to come forward. His family and friends have set up a Facebook group called Bring Zach Home, and it has about 11,000 members in it already. And it has updates, like they regularly update it. They're looking for anybody who could come forward with any information. There's a bunch of like people put tips in there to like anything that it's just a group that people can go and comment, and if they know anything or have any new information. Zack's family is also really close with the other family of Colton, the boy who was murdered in September, because weirdly enough, like Zack's birthday and Colton's birthday were just one day apart. Like Zack's birthday is January 3rd and Colton's birthday was January 4th. So the family got to know each other, like they're pretty close. And plus it happened around the same area, so they likely knew each other because it's a small town. And every year since the disappearance and the death of Colton, they have a vigil every year to keep their names in the forefront of the media, so people know what happened to Colton, but they also, like, if anybody has information on Zack. I don't know much about Colton's case, but like I said, the two cases are not related. So Zack's family just wants some answers and just some justice. They want to know what happened, and they just wanted, like, they either want, like, if Zack's still out there, they want him to come home, or if anybody has any information. There is a $30,000 reward out there for anyone who helps police and family with the whereabouts of Zack. And this amount was donated by local businesses in Zack's hometown. And Zack's family still has hope that he's still alive and want to bring him home. Zack is described as a white male, 5'9", 175 pounds, with brown hair, brown facial hair, and blue eyes. And he was last seen wearing a plaid shirt and boxer shorts. If anybody has any information about this case or know anything or have any new tips or anything out there, they can call the Southwest Nova RCMP Major Crime Unit at 902-365-3120 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. That's 1-800-222-8477. Before I end this episode, I just wanted to say, like, I wanted to do this case because it kind of hits home because of where I live in Nova Scotia. Like, I didn't know Zack, like, I didn't know that family personally, but just to have, like, something like this so significant in our hometown, not hometown, but, like, home province, it just, and we don't get a lot of, like, local cases usually, so this one just kind of struck me a bit differently, so this is why I kind of wanted to do it. Where we live, I live in such a small province, and when someone goes missing, it feels like someone in your hometown or someone you knew. But like I said, if anybody has any information about Zack's whereabouts, or if anybody knows anything, like, the family wants you to come forward with anything that could lead to some answers and some justice. So yeah, that's my case. Do you guys have any final thoughts or any other theories that you might think that might be out there? Or?
Yeah, that's a weird one. Like, how someone can just, I always find it fascinating, the ones where people just go missing without a trace. And I'm very curious to see, like, who those people that he said that he was walking with. Just to me, it seems very, very odd. Or like that anonymous number that was texting him also seems super odd and suspicious. So, and yeah, it is weird when it happens in Nova Scotia because it is such a small province. And even if you don't know the people, it feels like you might know someone who knows someone who knows them. So it always just feels a little bit more closer to home. But yeah, that's a weird one. I don't really have any theories. It's kind of just, I mean, I guess he just fell into the woods or fell off into the water somewhere. Like, it would be my only thing if someone can just go missing like that. But it does seem like kind of suspicious. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, to me, it wouldn't be too far off. I think that someone did pick him up and, something happened. They hurt him, killed him, and then dumped him somewhere farther away where you wouldn't expect to find his body. So, because I just feel like if he did die from the elements or from something, they would have found his body along the road or along the shore or something. I just think that's more plausible. But to me, it kind of seems like somebody picked him up and something happened from there. But yeah, it is super interesting. It's a weird one.
Yeah, I wonder if it was like someone at the party who like followed him when he left, or if it was somebody that lured him out there, or you know what I mean? That's why he wanted to leave at that random time to walk home. Like, maybe he was planning to meet someone, or were luring him. I don't know. It seems super odd. So I would suspect that, yeah, it's probably some foul play for sure, because otherwise his body would have probably been found if they did the extensive search. So that's what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, like that was my initial thought too when I was doing this case. Like someone, a case that someone, or that you would have to follow him out there or out of the house, because like to me it just seems odd that he leaves the party before New Year's, like before ringing in the New Year, because they were going to the party for New Year's Eve. So to me, like to leave 10 minutes before the party, before like midnight, just seems really odd to me. And that fact that nobody followed, like nobody cared that he was leaving and that he was gonna walk home, like I don't know. To me, like if I was at a party and I say, "Oh, I'm gonna walk home," so I'm sure somebody would say, like, "Wait, do you want to drive?" Or like, "We can call you a cab." Like, I feel like you're not just gonna like let someone leave your house walking in the middle of the night. Not in the middle of the night, but like, you know what I mean? Like wintertime, pitch black. But yeah, like I was leaning more towards like something more sinister happened to him. Like Katie said, like someone picked him up and killed him. And like in Nova Scotia, there's lots of wooded areas and lots of like farm areas. So like it's probably possible that somebody could have buried him somewhere, and like who knows where, because it's so like desolate and you can find millions of places to bury somebody in Nova Scotia, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely a weird case, and hopefully they can find some answers, because like we've said in other cases before that are unsolved, it's like that's almost worse than finding the body or knowing that they're dead, is, you know, the not knowing, like, is he out there, is he alive? Or so I really I hope the family can find some sort of answers or resolution, because now it's been 2 years, and as we all know, the longer you go, the harder it gets for answers to come, or to find out what happened, because time not good, you know.
And I look, yeah, I also look up, like I look up for updates every like so often on this case, just to see if there's anything new. So if there is anything new, I'll let you guys know, and maybe we'll do an episode on it. But as of right now, there's nothing new out there since he disappeared. So hopefully something comes out of it soon, and that his family can get some justice and some peace into what happened to him. So
yeah. Let's hope. So yeah, that does it for this week's episode of Crime Family. As always, you can follow us on all the social medias if you like the show. We're on Instagram at Crime Family Podcast. We're on Twitter at Crime Family Pod 1, and we're on Facebook at Crime Family Podcast. You can also send us an email, crimefamilypodcast@gmail.com, and you can send us all of your feedback and suggestions, and, you know, let us know of a case you want us to cover, anything like that. We'd love to connect with you. Also, if you love the show and you want to help support it and get some exclusive benefits, you can become a patron on Patreon. We'll put the link in the show notes to the Patreon page, but it's patreon.com/crimefamilypodcast, and we do have a merch store on Redbubble. And you can find all of the exclusive Crime Family merch on Redbubble. We'll put a link in the show notes to that as well. So lots of ways to support the show if you're a fan. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate all of you for tuning in. And until next time, take care. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.